Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Tougie's Take podcast. We are back again to talk about the week that has been in hockey, at least the past couple of days. And hey, surprise, surprise, there's no shortage of things to talk about. So we're going to be able to get right down to business in today's show. I am joined once more by Mr. Sin for the win, and returning to the show, Endo Mills is also back from his brief leave of absence for hockey-related purposes.
Yeah, I found myself. I was like, oh, boy. I'm going to say the game that I played to miss the podcast was 1,000% not worth it. And I've written off days where I have the podcast for hockey because that's usually what I do for rental. But, yeah, I'm here full-time now. I promise.
Yeah, if you're in the Toronto area and you need a rent-a-goalie, Endo Mills is your man.
Yeah, at Endo
Just make it worth his time.
Yeah, if it's
like
not a decent level skate, then I'm not showing up.
There you go. So, again, we're going to be able to get right down to business today because there is a lot to talk about. I hate to have to do it, but again, viewer questions kind of off to the side because it's another one of those heavy talking point days. And also, I have a feeling most of the viewer questions would be related to what we're going to talk about today. Anyway, because there are some elephants in the room in terms of very notable moments. That said, before we get down to business, of course, as always, this show is still brought to you by our friends at Manscaped, manscaped.com. Use code Tougie at checkout for 20% off your order, free worldwide shipping. For all of your grooming needs, Manscaped is very much the place, whether it be the hair on your head, the hair in your nose and or ears, the hair down there. Manscaped.com, the place for you, and we thank them for sticking with us. That said, gentlemen, we have two big talking points before we get into negative story time, or at least kind of negative story time. I will have this be a choose your own adventure, and we'll leave it to Endo since he missed the last show. Do we want to talk about the broken state of NHL 22? Or do we talk about the trade that finally happened?
Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. This is kind of still live. The other one is still pretty live too. But NHL 22, just go for it. I'm sitting here with two guys who are game changers and one guy who wants to be
Actually,
a game
no.
changer.
I'm a playmaker now.
Yeah. Oh, what?
No, well, I was initially started as a game changer. When they switched community managers, they basically had that lower tier.
Oh.
Yeah, we kind of for months we didn't even know what the hell we were, and I'm gonna just go out and say it. I have zero to any channel towards EA for the most part. it's kind of weird. None of us really know what's going on. But
no, say it with your chest. There you go. Keep it coming out.
Say it with my chest. Okay, I don't get responses to feedback. Or problems that happen. There. Well, actually, I finally got one after 3 years or 2 years, whatever.
Hey, only 3 years, not bad. So, just to catch everybody up on this, for those who, I would imagine the vast majority of the listenership is, of course, very much familiar with, obviously, the YouTube and Twitch side of things and the video game side of things, as opposed to just the sports-related side of things. But the bottom line is, NHL 22 has had a rough time since it launched last month. I think that's a safe way to put it. And it's been interesting for me because truly, and I've said this on every platform that I'm on, I thought NHL 22 had a lot of potential. I really did. I don't know the last time I kind of bought into the hype of what I had seen, kind of the roadmap that had been laid out, the direction things were going. I'm like, this really does have a chance to be something good. And unfortunately, pretty much ever since launch, it just seems like more and more questionable things happen, whether it had been the decisions made after the beta that was out there in terms of certain changes with the gameplay in relation to that, which seems to be a story every single year. Whether it be in regards to some of the bugs that are out there. I know Sin can speak to that as someone who has had franchise and Be a Pro save files disappear. I am still getting people messaging me telling me that their custom roster files are disappearing. And then you had just 2 days ago a lot of uproar in regards to the Ultimate Team side of things from that portion of the community, talking about really a general state of disappointment. Again, a max reward bonus in Hut Rush being 750 coins, which again, a base pack in the game is 5k, so 15% of a pack, you're almost there. For getting the max reward there. And then a new patch came out today that, again, I'm like, hey, if this is implemented nicely, it could work out well. And, people are loading into the game and getting the loading screen stuck on the screen with the game being played in the background. People are scoring goals and being soft locked into watching the celebration for up to at least an hour is one of the longest ones I've seen so far. Shout out to friend of the show, Architect, who posted that on Twitter. Guys,
I feel like only Architect is salty enough to stay in a game for 1 hour to fucking get that, and I love him for that. That's one of my favorite things about Architect is just the level of sodium that man can live in and still function as a human. It's amazing.
I mean, he lives in Buffalo, so I think it's just radiant sodium.
It's been a real interesting day for him.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I'm just going to go out and say it. Every single update or patch that has come out so far for NHL 22 has progressively made the game worse, now to the point where it's almost unplayable. Not just, oh my god, gameplay sucks, it's unplayable. No, this is literally unplayable. Like, you cannot play it. Yeah. It's broken. But that being said, when it first came out, when we got our early release copies, before even the launch day patch, I loved it. Man, Be a Pro felt great. I was so excited. I'm like, the gameplay feels good. Okay, it's the exact same experience, whatever. But the gameplay feels good. The AI is kind of making good decisions. And release day launch, it kind of gets worse. They introduce like another patch. And now at this point, it's like, I can't do it. Like they completely dumbed the AI down to a point where it's horrible to watch. Any person who understands hockey will look at that and just be like, it's unacceptable. The defense will just back up almost into the goalie, let the opposing player walk in and take a shot, or they'll stand there on the 2 circles and watch someone from the point skate all the way in to go one-on-one with the goaltender. They just stand there. I don't get how that keeps happening. I don't know if they keep tuning it for like Hockey Ultimate Team because everyone's concerned about the skill zoners and stuff like that. But again, simple fix. Separate tuner sets, separate AI for online mode and single player. I don't know. It's just, and that's just Be a Pro. And I'm bitching about that because I am one of the biggest advocates for Be a Pro. I've been playing it forever since it was first a thing, and I want it to be part of my channel. But I think back in NHL 16, it was the only thing on my channel, and it was big on my channel up until pretty much a couple years ago, where it just got stale. Last year it was okay, but again, you have all the issues with the gameplay, and then it just being super repetitive. They went the story mode route, and they decide, okay, we're just going to have the same exact story mode, but hey, we added a couple more cutscenes that directly coincide with X Factors, which, you be honest, you had to add that in just to, I don't know. So that's that, and yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of other issues. I'm scared to check my World of Chell builds. I hear they're all getting deleted. I spent a lot of time. I finally got my 2-way defenseman to a great area, so excited to rebuild that.
So builds have been disappearing. I should also mention other glitches. I guess they finally added in a feature where it will boot someone if they just sit there, but I think it's glitching out because I saw a couple people mention that they have been getting disconnected from the game, or like the opponent will disconnect, but you'll get charged with the loss in Ultimate Team.
It's like they make so many steps to go forward and they just shoot themselves in the foot. And it's getting to a point. Like, I got a penalty, I think it was on Monday. I was playing with Tymo in the morning, good friend of the show. Thank you. And and so what happened was I hit someone, and then I did the teabag, and then I got a penalty for tripping.
Yep. I had that happen to me in Be a Pro.
And then I was like, what do you mean that's not tripping? You're tripping, I'm not tripping. And
it's because it's because your stick animation goes through them, and it's somehow.
I wasn't even looking at them. Time told me that the dev said that it's apparently an anti like teabag feature, whatever the fuck it is.
I highly doubt that they put that in there.
That's what I told from Timeout. That's what I told from Timeout. So go bother at Baker and Timeout on Twitter.
That angers me actually, because I know for a fucking fact they would not put that in there. Because if you're teabagging on someone, you're taking yourself out of the play. There's no way that they'd put that in there, and it's already slower anyway. It's a different animation. You can't really teabag like you used to be able to.
I can show you the clip post podcast and let you know like how it is, because it's legitimately after the hit, like 2 seconds pass, he's not even anywhere near me, and I tripped and I do the trip animate. I do the teabag thing because he just goes stick down. You dick stick him. And then the game's like, oh, yeah, you're going in the box for 2 minutes for tripping. I'm like, no, y'all tripping. I ain't tripping. Come on.
This is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
In that, it just goes to show that you have people who play this game every single day. And there is still that level of confusion and uncertainty in regards to so many different aspects of the game. We could be here for the entire show talking about our frustrations with the game, and it's very, very unfortunate that we're at the point where people are like, oh, I don't even know if I'm going to play the game tonight because we might just score a goal and have the game lock up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, We'll leave it at that in terms of some of the more general discussion around the state of NHL 22. I get asked on a nightly basis, hey, should I pick this game up? And it's been a very similar trajectory to Madden, where, hey, yeah, this isn't so bad. Maybe you could wait. Definitely wait. You know.
I still haven't gotten Madden yet.
Don't.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I was going to wait for Christmas, but I'm like, I haven't seen anyone playing it. I haven't been able to tune in any streams of people playing it. I'm like, all right, well.
I would rather get coal in my fucking stocking and actually have a better use for it than getting a copy of Madden. And at this point,
so I will say, I did enjoy Madden for what it was, but it's such a low bar.
Yeah.
Similar to NHL 22, where it's like 21, in my opinion, was so bad that it was such a low bar for it to be better. And even now, those two games, 22, continue to trip over their predecessors because they just drop the ball post-launch. I mean, it's... Madden, I don't expect any better when the game crashes on me over 24 times, which is what happened in the first couple days after launch. NHL 22, it's not so much I expect it to be bad, but I'm disappointed because I felt like it could be good.
Yeah.
And it's really not.
Let down.
And it's been really interesting to look at the response. That said, if you enjoy NHL 22 and aren't suffering from a ton of the bugs and shit like that that's going on, hey, by all means, enjoy the game. If you enjoy Madden, by all means, enjoy the game. I will never tell anybody to not enjoy it. I am envious that you enjoy it as much as you do. And fingers crossed that... well, boys, next month, roster sharing is supposed to be added into NHL 22, and I don't know if I'd take that bet as to whether or not that's going to go smoothly, and that's a very scary thing.
I was about to ask.
I was just gonna say I had a feeling like with all this other crap happening, that date's gonna get pushed back now. Like I'm just worried about that. Or if it is implemented, it's because hey, we made this promise and it's gonna break.
When was the last? I remember NHL 21 had the last update like January 12th was the last big content update or whatever to get patches and everything. You think January 12th, 2022 is gonna be the day when that drops instead? Because it feels like
that was the last major update.
That was the last major update. That was the last patch. That was the last anything for NHL 21. And then I guess everyone went all hands on deck for 22. And if that's really all hands on deck, you need more hands. You need to. Oh boy. Oh man.
I think what Sin just mentioned though is what scares me the most about that is okay, hey, it was on schedule to be added, but then we had to keep going back and fixing other things that we didn't expect to be issues. So what's going to happen?
Yeah.
It's a scary, scary thing.
Yep.
That said, we'll move on because like I said, we probably could be here for an hour and a half just talking about NHL 22. It finally happened, gentlemen. The Jack Eichel trade. It's finally done. Again, right around the time where I'm like, I'm done talking about this because what the hell is it ever going to happen? Who the hell knows? It does happen. And ultimately, he goes to the spot that I said he was going to go to, and a lot of people said he was going to go to 6 some odd months ago. Jack Eichel. I could see the look on Sin's face already, for those of you watching on the YouTube side of things. Jack Eichel has been acquired by the Vegas Golden Knights. The deal is this. Vegas acquires Eichel and a 2023 conditional third-round pick that is contingent, as are a lot of the picks in this deal, contingent upon whether or not Vegas' first-rounder this year is a top 10 pick. So if Vegas has a top 10 draft pick in this upcoming draft, the 2022 draft, Buffalo will get a third-rounder in 2024 instead of in 2023. So, again, that would be Vegas, of course. It's one of those things where you add in conditional picks and you're like, oh my God. Bottom line is Eichel and a third to Vegas. The Buffalo Sabres acquire forward Alex Tuch, Peyton Krebs, a first-round pick that is conditional. It'll be 2022 or 2023, and a conditional second that they are guaranteed to get no matter what. The Sabres also completed a different deal, acquiring Johnny Boychuk, who has been on LTIR for almost 2 years now, for future considerations from the New York Islanders. That will boost them up well above the cap floor and means they can make further moves throughout this season and up to the trade deadline. So, gentlemen, let's go team by team here and what this means. And I want to start off in talking about what this means for the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, in the short term, doesn't mean much. Eichel will be getting the surgery that he's wanted all along. He'll be out for a projected minimum of 4 months, which means likely the only time we'll see Eichel this year is probably in the playoffs. And if he's ready to go in late March, you probably just hold him out until the playoffs anyway, treat him like a Kucherov situation, and all of a sudden you don't have to worry about the salary cap until next season. So I would not expect to see Jack Eichel in a regular season game this year for Vegas, because it would result in them having to maneuver things around cap-wise. Gentlemen, your thoughts, Jack Eichel, and specifically what this means for the Vegas Golden Knights. Sim, we'll start off with you as a fan of a rival team.
Yeah, I mean, what this means for them, they get, finally, an Elite 1C, which they have just never, ever had. Chandler Stevenson is playing solid for them, but probably well above his pay grade. So it's good for them, but also what it means, they have zero depth. At this point, I am honestly, if I'm a Vegas fan, I'm a little worried about this trade, simply because once again, your team is continuing to give up a lot of, assets, younger assets, pick assets. They don't have a ton of that. They really haven't drafted that heavily. So many of their prospects and picks they've now traded. Now it's good to get some of that talent. Now again, Eichel's 25. He'll be around for plenty of time. That being said, is it going to solve your problems? Is he going to really put up, is he going to make that much of a difference by putting up the kind of numbers that he can on this team that's now going to miss, Alex Tuch, who's been a very, very solid middle six winger. Some argue that he could be a full-time top six. Peyton Krebs, who is probably their best prospect at this point, a guy who everyone said fell lower in the draft than he should have. Again, I see him as, maybe a future 2C, but still, these are all very good things. And again, they're still going to have to get rid of more. Riley Smith is gone 100% now. Who else is going to be out the door? It's kind of interesting. Sure. Like, probably Dadonov too. What kind of deal was he on? Was it just 1 year?
He signed through next year. I think he has a limited no move or a no trade, but I mean, they'll find a new spot for $5 million worth of Evgeny Dadonov at the end of the year. I will say, though, like, in theory, a lot of people questioned the center depth last year, especially when they ran into Montreal. But in theory now in the playoffs and moving forward, their center depth, if healthy, is Eichel, Stevenson, Carlson, or, Carlson, Stevenson. Yeah. And that is pretty good depth down the middle. But like you said, then you maybe start to question the depth down the wing. But they are also right now a heavily, heavily injured team. On IR for them right now, Eichel, Stone, Pacioretty, Nolan Patrick. and then White Cloud and Jake Bischoff on defense.
Yeah.
I don't disagree, though, with your take on their depth.
I will say, even with all that, if you have good depth, you should be over a 500 team. And not to toot my horn, I hate to say it, but I'm trying to think of any other team with. Well, I was going to bring up Colorado, but I'm like, well, they're kind of in the same problem. They spent up to the cap and they had no depth and they lost games because of it. Other teams that have been able to draft heavily and stuff like that, at least in the last couple of years, have been able to have the organizational depth to win games. Again, small sample size. Sharks won 2 games against Winnipeg, and then Jesus Christ, who'd they just play? Brain fart. Anyway, but they won 2 games using.
You know who they just played, Sin? They played the Buffalo Sabres.
Thank you. Yes, they played 4 defensemen who were, not normally on the roster, and like 4 forwards at the same, like 8 players total or something crazy like that. Still won games. Now, that's not to say they have the best depth in the world, but they have that sort of depth. With Vegas, I don't see it. Again, they're still fresh in the league. They haven't been able to have these guys who were drafted, for very long. And yeah, we mentioned them trading pretty much all their first rounders by this point. I don't think they have a single first rounder that they've drafted in their organization now.
So here we can actually take a look at their draft pick history and see who is still around, because it's always a little bit fun. So 2017 first round, Cody Glass gone. Mm-hmm. Nick Suzuki gone. Eric Brandstrom, gone. Second round, they did pick up Nick Hague and Jake Lesishin, who are both still around. 2018 draft. Didn't have a first-round pick in the second round. They took a Russian forward by the name of Ivan Morozov. We'll see. 2019 first round, Peyton Krebs, gone. Second round was Caden Korczak, who we don't know yet. Wait it out, Caden. Your time will come. Yeah. 2020 first round pick Brendan Brisson is still there, and in the first round this year they took Zach Dean. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, those first 3 drafts, all 4 players they took in the first round are off the team.
Which is kind of a lot. Now, Cody Glass isn't really panning out, but I still think letting Suzuki go was one of the biggest mistakes that they were ever going to make. Pacioretty's fine, but he's what, 30, 31, at least, maybe even 32 by this point?
Max Pacioretty is 32 years old.
Yeah. I'm sorry, he's good now. Next year after, he's going to start that decline.
Well, funny thing is, he's only signed through next year.
How are they going to get him back?
He's making $7 million now.
Ooh.
What does a Max Pacioretty extension look like, and what is the term on that? Because anything above 3 years is going to be potentially risky if he's making over $5 million.
Here's where that no state tax advantage comes in.
I guess so, yeah. Endo, your take on Eichel in Vegas?
They should just rename the Golden Knights to the High Rollers, because they're just gambling on everything. We don't know how Eichel's going to be after the surgery. I don't think anybody really does know. Ever after you're injured, you're never really the same person. It's either you're better or you're worse. In the case of Connor McDavid, when he hurt was it ACL or
collarbone?
Or whatever? No.
He injured his collarbone when he accidentally punched the glass in a fight in the OHL. Yeah. But it was, I do believe you're right, a knee injury that he didn't get surgery on.
Oh. Yeah.
And just elected to rehab, which proved to be maybe the best decision he's ever made in his life.
Yeah, and now he's even faster of a skater, and he's still getting faster, which is scary. But in the case of Eichel, with the surgery that he's probably going to be getting, I'm surprised he's probably like in the hospital right now, sitting on the doctor's bed, like, all right, let's go. I got the clearance. Let's get it done. But you never know. It's a surgery that's never been done before to an NHL player, but it's helped in other sports and helped rejuvenate some careers from what I've seen. And I hope the best for him. I hope it all works out. But that is a powerhouse in Vegas. Considering their cap hit, that is ridiculous, because right now their projected cap hit is like $91 million when you count just face value without taking in the LTIR. Right now they have 16 mil in cap space right now, but we all know when those guys get ready to come back, it's gonna be like 0. They're gonna have a Toronto situation, and I don't wish it on anybody. Yeah,
10 with Eichel, 7 Pacioretty. What, like, isn't Stone to like 8 or 9?
9.5 for Mark Stone.
Jesus, so Stone 9.
9 for Mark Stone, 9.5.
And then Patrick's got to be making at least 3, right? He was
1.2.
Oh, really? That's low for low for Patrick?
You signed the bridge deal.
It's just
bridge. I guess I figured he might have signed at least like a 3 or 4 with Philly, but I guess not.
Yeah. The injury problems there for the Flyers.
Yeah.
So didn't play a full season.
Yeah, that's another thing.
3 years.
Kind of gambled on Patrick too, and he gets re-injured. That was a sad story, man.
High rollers, I'm telling you. That's what I'm going to call them from now on, because this is like. And then you mentioned Sim with the depth issue when they don't really have a lot of guys there. Their farm system's also kind of barren. I'm going to be really honest with that. But it just seems like they're like a win now team. They have that.
No, it's not Barron. It's Brendan. He's their only guy, Brendan Brisson.
I'm
great. Sorry, I had to.
No, that's fine. That's perfect. I was gonna make the same joke because that's my middle name. It's just I don't know where to go. This doesn't look like an NHL franchise. This looks like someone who's literally betting pro line and going like, "Oh, I'll grab this guy on my team," and it looks perfectly fine. I mean, granted, they did well. They have made the playoffs every single year that they've been there, but they have had the advantage of having a certain expansion draft that was heavily favored to give them a boost of a team. Like no one expected them to make the playoffs or get to the finals that year when they had the expansion draft, and the fact that
that sorry to cut you off, but I think that's where like that was obviously the turning point, right? Because this was a team where it's like, oh hey, we might not be complete trash, and then not only were they not complete trash, they made a Stanley Cup final in their first year, and that was where the decision was made to go for it. And they're so far along that path that they essentially have no choice but to just go for it, which is why you see them pick up Pacioretty, which is why they bring in Mark Stone and re-sign him. How absurd is that? It's still crazy to think, like, Pacioretty, Mark Stone. They bring in Alex Pietrangelo and move on from guys maybe a little bit earlier than people would have thought, and maybe someone like Nate Schmidt feels a bit betrayed. And then you bring in Jack Eichel, like,
or Fleury.
I at least commend them.
Fleury, yeah.
Poor guy.
There is no loyalty.
At least
that's it. Completely. It's just It's a Vegas mentality. I said this on Twins seat. Sin's tweet earlier. The team represents the city. It's Sin City.
Fly by night.
They don't care. Like they want it. They want the big high roller, big money coming in, and they'll get it anywhere that they can. Props to you, but that's not going to last you long when getting people to come here for a long time. I always said originally this would be like a tourist city. This might be a city where players come to play, get paid the big bucks, and then leave, or get shipped off somewhere else. It might be just a tourist city for players and for fans.
I do commend them though for saying, "Look, this is it. Like again, we've made all these deals. We have to commit to this. We have to go for it." You know, whether or not they'd still, I'm intrigued to know what the situation would look like right now in Vegas if they didn't say, okay, we're doubling down and going for it, we're a contender, and if they had still stuck with the slow and steady approach after making it to the Cup final, what would that team look like? And, at the end of the day, we talk about, they gave up Cody Glass, but as Sin mentioned, he hasn't really stuck so far. Eric Brandstrom is still in the minors in Ottawa. Would he be an NHLer with Vegas right now? We don't know. Nick Suzuki, would he look as decent as he looks now in Vegas as compared to Montreal? It is a completely different timeline if they didn't go for this. But, like I said, I do commend them for the fact that they said, shit, we're going for it. We're all in on this idea. Of course, Vegas goes all in. We're all in on the idea of we're going to win us the goddamn cup as soon as we possibly can.
I commend them, and I hope it blows up in your face.
So far it has. So there's that. And
that's just the way I have to be. But I will say, I got a funny-ass comment on YouTube about this, because I talked about it a bit, obviously. Someone said, a bit of a conspiracy theory here, but you think Bettman called Buffalo told them to get a fucking move on it to take away the PR away from that awful press conference they had the other day.
I can see it.
With what Buffalo received back, especially allowing Vegas to top 10 protect that first rounder, like that's almost plausible. I still can't believe Buffalo allowed them to top 10 protect it. Like that's your biggest possible asset. Fucking look what just happened with the Sharks pick turning into Stützle for Ottawa. How the hell do you let them top 10 protect that? I am so pissed at Buffalo for letting them do that. That's just, in my opinion, terrible mismanagement of that situation. I mean, it was from the start, but this especially, it's horrible.
So we will move on to talking about the Sabres, and my segue was going to be speaking of things that could blow up in someone's face. It is the idea of lottery protecting those picks in Vegas's favor. The Sabres, I mean, you pick up Alex Tuch, good player. He's coming off of a pretty big shoulder surgery. Peyton Krebs is already been assigned to the AHL, which, hey, Rochester looks decent. JJ Peterka, he's down there. Jack Quinn's down there as well, and he's doing very well in the AHL so far. So
love to see
that's not a horrible situation. But again, this idea of it's Eichel and a third going to Vegas for a roster player, a former first-round pick, another first, and a second. Is that enough?
No.
Especially when, and look, the likelihood of Vegas ending up with a top 10 pick is slim. I think we all kind of expect they'll make the playoffs, although with the injuries, maybe not. But yeah, it just kind of seems like that general consensus is that's the most you could get, huh? But then you also factor in the injury concerns, the uncertainty around there. I don't think it's a horrific deal for them, but I don't know. There's still something about it where, you know, you're kind of hoping towards those first rounders. I mean, it's optimistic to say that we believe that Peyton Krebs will still step up and be a legitimate top 6 guy. Alex Tuch is a legitimate top 6 guy, and I do think he can fit in with the pieces they have there already now pretty well. But this is another one of those trades where, you know, short term, as long as Eichel can get back to 100% health, you'd think it would work out for Vegas a lot better. Buffalo, we're going to have to revisit this 10 years down the road to see what comes of those draft picks, and there is a lot of pressure to hit with those particular draft picks, Enda.
Mike was off, sorry. It's a mess. I called it the Vegas heist because this is a steal if it does pay off. If you do get point per game, healthy Jack Eichel, but the return was definitely not worth it, possibly.
The only plus side I see for Buffalo is if Vegas absolutely hamstrings themselves and they get the top 10 pick this year. That pick gets pushed back. All of a sudden, Smith is gone. Pietrangelo? Pacioretty? Big question mark there if they do sign him. Does Pietrangelo able to bounce back? You know, like all those contracts get pushed forward another year. Everyone gets a little bit older. But I highly, highly doubt that they miss the playoffs in that next year. That's why a lot would have to happen. It would have to be a Sharks-worthy Evander Kane drama collapse for that to happen the way it happens, you know, in several other situations, you know, the Duchesne thing, then the Carlson thing, you know, with the Sharks. And I just don't get it. Like, that seems so low.
So, presumably for the Sabres here, let's say that Vegas doesn't get a top 10 pick, because that would be pretty far out of the realm of expectation. Right now they have 3 first rounders. They actually have a similar deal with the Florida Panthers. Another conditional pick. The conditions on that from the Sam Reinhart deal. If the pick's in the top 10, they'd exchange it with Florida. So let's be honest. I mean, the Florida Panthers aren't ending up with a bottom 10 draft pick. So realistically, the Buffalo Sabres have 3 first-round picks this year. Their own, Florida's, and Vegas's. And that's so far. They also have their own second. Next year, they have their own first and 3 seconds as well, having their own Vegas's and Philadelphia's second, yes, from the Rasmus Ristolainen trade. So, I mean, you're talking about a team that has 8 picks in the first 2 rounds of the next 2 drafts already. And acquiring Johnny Boychuk allows them to potentially make other moves, such as, Victor Olofsson's an RFA at 26 years old. They could get a pretty penny, in my opinion, for Victor Olofsson at the trade deadline. He's only making $3 million. Like, that is a very, very shiny new toy option for a lot of these teams that are looking to make a strong push. I comfortably say that could fetch them a first-round pick at the deadline. I truly believe that. Aside from that, you'd be talking about kind of nickel and diming to get other pieces. I mean, Colin Miller, Will Butcher, their deals are up at the end of the year. I don't think they take on Johnny Boychuk unless they were planning on making other moves. In terms of guys that are under contract beyond this year, I mean, Gergensons, Bjork, and Thompson all have an extra year, but how much value is there really? I will not be surprised if the Johnny Boychuk trade results in Victor Olofsson being dealt by the deadline, if not on deadline day, which means, again, Buffalo will have a decent amount of draft picks. And if you look at who they have in the system now, I mean, like Rasmus Asplund's on their top line right now, apparently. I mean, he's 23 years old. That's still promising. Dylan Cousins is 20. Obviously, on the defense, you're looking at Dahlin. Jacob Bryson's played all 9 games for them this year. He's only 23. You know that you have Owen Power in the system. Casey Middlestat's still 22. What's his ceiling? Krebs, JJP is there, Jack Quinn is there, Isaac Rosen. Like, they have a talent pool. How good is that talent pool? I don't know. But if they can do, and shout out to Ryan Johnson as well on the blue line, actually, now that I'm looking at it, if they play their cards right, this can work out well. And I think at the very least, even if they didn't get as big of a return as they potentially could have gotten, the most important thing is the Jack Eichel era is over. That's the most important thing. It's just, okay, those ties are severed. We are on to a new era again. But that is what they so desperately needed. And finally, Sabres fans can be like, okay, I wish it didn't go down this way, but it's done. It's over with, and we move on to this new era. And if Buffalo plays their cards right, they can do pretty well. The consensus will be, though, are you going to get a player that is the caliber of Jack Eichel? And would you rather have Jack Eichel and what you can put around him, or this idea of whatever this new core is going to be? And again, we don't know. And we won't for a few years from now. Yeah. So, any other takes on Buffalo, boys? Or do we move on to a third team involved in this?
I mean, my last take is it seems that Buffalo is now not building around a specific piece, but trying to just build a team around a lot of different pieces, which is sometimes a hell of a lot easier to do. As you saw Edmonton struggle for years and years and years to build around. Well, they had 2, and that's even, crazier. But I mean, yeah, with Eichel, it simply wasn't working. And now at this point, it's almost like a fresh start for them. Horrible for Buffalo fans. They're rebuilding the rebuild of a rebuild, essentially, it feels like. But yeah, I mean, again, we'll see. But it's not the best return for Buffalo, but they still have opportunity. I love the way they're looking so far this year. All those young guys, they look scary. I've never felt threatened when watching Buffalo play against the Sharks for the last few years. And I'm like, okay, this is a threatening team, and they don't have Jack Eichel. I'm excited to see what they do with all their assets.
I've kind of labeled them like the Ducks of the East, in that they're not like a very good playoff caliber team, but they have at least found an identity of playing hard and being a tough team to beat. So, which isn't a bad spot to be in. And no, I will direct this next portion over to you here because it's Canadian related. The Calgary Flames. What does the Jack Eichel trade mean for the Calgary Flames, who were apparently the other team that it was down to the wire with? There were the absurd rumors that have been completely downplayed since that came out from Kevin Weeks. Poor guy's been taking a beating. A potential deal would have involved Matthew Tkachuk. But for Flames fans, I mean, there were people that were trying to will this into existence, and they fell short. If you look at this deal, we don't know for sure if it would have worked out the same way. But it's not out of the realm of possibility to say that the Calgary Flames had the pieces to make this trade happen, not involving Matthew Tkachuk, but I mean, again, you look at like, okay, do they have a counterbalance for Peyton Krebs? I'd say yes, in the form of someone like, I think it's Jakob Pelletier, who was out there. I mean, granted, he wasn't a first-round pick, but I'm a big fan of that kid. He has shown that he has just gotten better and better since being drafted by the Flames. Like, I could go down the list. I feel like the Flames had the pieces to get this done. Are you surprised that they didn't, despite the fact that they're a good team? And are you happy that they didn't? Because in a way, if I'm a Leafs fan, I'm rooting for this to happen, because I feel like it takes a tiny little bit of pressure away. The spotlight shifts ever so further away from Toronto and would then focus so heavily on the Battle of Alberta, McDavid versus Eichel, and a lot more people would be focused on that. So, your thoughts on what this means for Calgary not getting Jack Eichel?
I think it's definitely a missed opportunity, for one. Another thing about that too is there are a lot of pieces over there that were like matchable, comparable per se, but I just feel like it was just their GM just not wanting to make the move, and I don't know why they just didn't make the move. Considering what Buffalo gave up to get Eichel and what they got in return, I think literally any of the hypothetical offers that were available out there that Calgary could have done, I think they could have done it. I just think they didn't want to give up Tkachuk, and they wanted to build around him, Mangiapane, people over there, and that franchise, and keep it that way. I mean, you have a chance to get like I said before, like a generational talent in Eichel, but you don't know how he's going to be after the surgery. He could be better, he could be worse, he could be the same. I don't know if they were willing to take that risk, and if they were going to take that risk, it was going to pay off in the way they wanted it to be. Also, I don't think Bettman wants another top talented player on a Canadian roster. So that's just a little bias there. And it would be good. Maybe TSN and Sportsnet could shut the fuck up about the Leafs every 5 seconds and then focus on another team. I'd really appreciate that. No offense. No ill will to the guys that I know who go there at TSN and everything, but just I'm kind of sick and tired of scrolling through my feed and seeing constant things about what Mitch Marner had for his ice cream and what Austin Matthews ate. That's
Don't you love how Gary Bettman went from hey, maybe he's not that bad, to right back to public enemy number one in the course of the last couple weeks? Like, it's,
what did he do with that we thought it wasn't that bad?
There was some I don't even remember at this point. Like he was winning over some favor, in regards to like how the NHL had handled the COVID situation and stuff like that. Like there were people where it's like, okay, like, he's done okay, and Seattle's in the league, and then that was not even 15 minutes of positivity. Yeah, no, I mean, Sin, I don't know if you have anything else to add in regards to the Calgary Flames. I don't think it's a complete L. They're a good team this year, as we'll talk about, but yeah, I can understand why there's a lot of Flames fans that might be a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, I would be slightly disappointed as a Flames fan, because, again, I'm thinking of who you could play Jack Eichel with on that team, and it's incredible. Like, just he's such a solid play driver, and as that franchise center with Monahan maybe kind of falling off a cliff a little bit.
Man, if you get, I'm sorry to cut you off as well, but man, if you get Jack Eichel, Sean Monahan as your 1-2 punch, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's really tough to beat.
Yeah, especially when, then Monahan could just, hey, we don't need you to fill that scoring role. Do your defensive center shit, win face-offs. Like, and Sean Monahan, that would be so much pressure off him too. But yeah, I mean, again, with the when I first saw that trade, like with the Tkachuk and then like plus multiple firsts or a prospect who was a first and stuff like that, and yeah, rough look for Kevin Weeks. I don't know who that insider is, but don't get calls from him anymore. And yeah, it's just I would have either way. He was going to a Pacific team. I would have preferred Calgary more, just because that would have been on. Like, I would have loved the McDavid Eichel showdown. Like, how dope would that be? 1 and 2 picks. And then, of course, you get back into the conspiracy zone where Bettman called and put a stop to it. Like, and he's like, no, it has to be Vegas. My baby's got to do good. But no, I mean, all kidding aside, it's maybe a missed opportunity. But then again, why rock the boat if you're Calgary? You're doing great this year. I mean, if don't overpay, but that probably wasn't going to be an issue looking at the return.
Yeah,
fair enough. So. With that, we'll move into, again, some of the negative story times and some of the things that have been going on around the league that we really, or around the hockey world even, that we really can't ignore. We'll start off by talking about some of the things attached to the Kyle Beach story as that continues to play out. We got the confirmation this week, of course, that Brad Aldrich's name has been X'd out on the Stanley Cup, as we all presumed. And, you know, there's been an interesting debate, right, between would you prefer to have his name taken off versus X'd out. At first I thought, yeah, like the Xing out makes sense. The taking the names off makes sense too. But I think I'm leaning towards the idea of, you know, Xing out someone's name can at least lead to the conversation of, you know, as opposed to his name just not being there. Like, no matter what, because of the inaction in 2010, the scumbag's always going to have a chance to say, that's my name behind those X's, and he'll still brag about it, I'm sure, and wear it as a badge of honor. But, yeah, at the end of the day, I think I'm okay with the decision behind Xing his name out, because people might look it up to say, like, oh, well, why is his name X'd out? Oh, and then all of this happens involving this story. So I think it leads to a conversation more than anything else.
Yeah, I always prefer the route of education in forms of stuff like this. I wouldn't want to remove it completely. The Xing out, because you can still kind of see who it is a little bit if you really look closely enough. You can see the shapes of the letters and everything. But it does lead to people asking, oh, why was he there? And then you can educate and figure out why he did it. And, well, because he's a fucking idiot. That's why he did it. And just expand upon that.
Yeah. Sin, any particular take or just...
No, I'm just so sick of talking about Brad Aldrich and
that's fair.
The situation.
I was honestly tempted to not even mention him by name, but that might be the final time that we do.
Yeah,
and I hope it is.
I'm excited to get to this next section right here.
Yeah, so there were some positives. There were some positives that came out of this, and then we'll get to one more negative at the end of it. But one of the more promising things that came out of this was actually from the Boston Bruins locker room. Brandon Carlo, who is actually the Bruins NHLPA representative, mentioned that the entire team together watched the Rick Westhead, Kyle Beach interview. He said that both head coach Bruce Cassidy and Patrice Bergeron stressed that it was important to watch it together as a team. God, just it's nice.
Yeah,
there's actual leadership for you right there.
Absolutely love the Bruins organization. Like I had a soft spot for him ever since me and Tougie became friends, and now straight up, like, holy crap, that's just huge. It's absolutely huge, and I hope a lot more organizations take the lead on something like this. It's very few words just how important that is, and the kind of support that gives to Kyle Beach is that, hey, not only are these guys, supporting you, but they're watching it. They're trying to learn. They're trying to feel what you're feeling. They're validating your words right there, and that's what we need as the players taking those kind of steps. With the gravity of the situation to at the very least watch it, be informed on what happened, and it's just massive. True, like you said, true leadership and just a high quality decision by the organization.
Yep, completely agree. I've even gone on saying that because of this, I'm probably going to be getting, and I know like it's just a piece of cloth at the end of the day, but I'd probably end up getting a Bruins jersey just because of the actions of the franchise itself. And this is definitely something that I think is a bare minimum that should be for all franchises if stuff like this were to come out, to learn about situations. Like I said, education, figure out what happened and how we can improve and make sure this is a better space for all people playing in the game, no matter sexual orientation or even stuff like that. And it counts like this. It's just, Hockey's for everybody, and let's actually make it for everybody.
I will say, as a Bruins fan, like I do feel obligated to offset the positivity by what some people might mention is like, well, Jeremy Jacobs is still a very, very questionable owner, and I'll agree with that. We don't have to get into some of the rich white man bullshit he's pulled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, in terms of the conversation being, surrounding a locker room, like, Bergeron being there for almost 20 years now, it's just, it's positive to know that the next group that are, the guys like people talk about like, oh, Charlie McAvoy will probably be the new captain. Dude, I think Brandon Carlo could be the new captain of the team. It might not be the biggest jersey selling idea, which is why it might be McAvoy. But in terms of like an actual leader in that room, it's nice to know that the younger guys that got to be in a locker room with Chara and with Bergeron. I'm really optimistic about that. As well, in terms of kind of the same conversation, this comes from Chris Johnston. Wayne Simmons was interviewed quite a bit, and I think this is a very positive sign, right? Him mentioning specifically that his faith in the NHLPA has been rattled a little bit, which is nice. I think you need players like this, respected players like Wayne Simmons, to step up and say, yeah, what their role in the Kyle Beach situation. I'm not cool with that. The players aren't cool with that. This is the NHLPA. It's the association that's supposed to be representing my best interest, our best interest as players. And for someone like Wayne Simmons to speak up and say like, yeah, no, there needs to be, essentially saying there needs to be some changes there, I think is also very, very promising. And granted, we kind of have to take a hard right in regards to some of the more positive aspects to this coming from Ben Pope, quoting Patrick Kane, quote, "I feel bad about the last time I talked. I put my personal experience with management ahead of the way Kyle Beach was treated by them. It takes incredible courage and pride for him to come forward. We're all thinking about him."
So did they fire the did they fire the old PR guy and get this guy in? Because that's a pretty good statement right there to make people who are kind of oblivious kind of situation,
I hate
be
it.
a little sentimental. It's terrible, especially with just how upfront it was. Yeah, I know the guy. He'd never do a bad thing, and then bad thing, and that's not the guy I know. But we know the guy that you know. He's not that great.
I don't know if I said that on here or if I just had posted on Twitter. It's all kind of bleeding together. You guys can stop me if I did say that on the podcast or what I'm about to say. It's, this is any sort of PR backpedaling that's happening from these guys. I simply don't believe, because they've already, in my opinion, let forth their true feelings, the true way they think about things with their initial statements. The fact that they jumped so quick to try to say what they felt about the GM or how great the ownership has been, how all these guys involved. Oh, I can't imagine them, doing these things like this. Never at any point in the initial, when it was all breaking down, did they express any concern for Kyle Beach, any support for Kyle Beach, and that's who needs it. And again, all of this after the fact, maybe I'm being too harsh, but again, they had several opportunities to do that. Not only right now, years ago, at any point during when all this was breaking down. This isn't their one opportunity. You can't come at me and say like, oh, well, this, sometimes you can't think clearly when the media is accosting you. They've had 10 years to think about it. Okay? I don't care that they're 22 at the time. When I was 22, guess what? I knew rape was bad. You know that as a kid. Hurting others is bad. You're taught that as a child. Don't use the age excuse. If it's an age excuse, then why do we make young guys captains? Huh? Why are we so excited when, this guy's such a young captain, a young leader? If he's not going to act like, it's just, goddamn. How?
I mean, it is very disappointing to see a lot of people, like, flat out, like, we weren't going to talk about it because it's not hockey related, but the Henry Ruggs thing. You have people trying to excuse that as, he's young and he made a mistake.
Jesus
like,
Christ.
Obviously, that doesn't exactly connect. I'm not comparing Henry Ruggs to the inaction of Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane, but to Sin's point, the idea of, but it's a young adult who doesn't know any better, and didn't feel like it was their place to do. Like, it's just, yeah, no, I at the risk of seeming like we're piling on Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane, like, I'm sorry, they've done themselves no favors in the way that they've spoken about all of this in the aftermath of the report being released last week. No favors whatsoever. So, again, it sucks in a way because, like, hey, let's have a fun conversation about how the NHL 22 sucks. But end of the day, hockey is hockey, and you got to talk about the more negative stuff here, right? And there's still more to come.
Yeah, if we don't talk about this, then we're part of the problem, and we're not fighting for the change that's necessary in hockey culture, and honestly, societal culture in general. Again, it's all symptoms and microcosms of how things work on a grander scale.
Oh, and we'll talk about societal issues. We'll skip over this next one that was kind of in the run sheet. We'll talk about these two other ones because that was a much better segue to those. I want to shout out a particular person on Twitter who I hate to say I discovered who he is in the aftermath of a very unfortunate incident this week. But it is a man who goes by Avery, at AVRY on Twitter, who has worked with the likes of Yahoo Sports, the Hockey News, Sports Illustrated, and he was the victim of racial abuse outside of Rogers Place after an Oilers game this week. The good thing is the Oilers do appear to be supporting him, and he seems to be handling it in stride as well, but you know, you have all this stuff going on within the hockey world, but then you get moments like this where you have fans racially abusing other fans. You have what happened in fucking Pennsylvania at a high school game where I am sure most people have heard of this story. Okay, here we go. During a game on Thursday, this was last Thursday, between Pittsburgh area Armstrong High School and Mars Hockey Club, a number of Armstrong students participated in sexually explicit chants directed at a female goaltender on the Mars team, leaving the unnamed goaltender in tears. As a subsequent result of the chants, all Armstrong students have been banned from attending hockey games, while the students who allegedly participated may face further disciplinary actions. Not a single adult did a goddamn thing about this, while this girl is hearing chants of "she's a whore" and "suck our dicks." Do you see why, in a way, we'd feel, I don't want to simplify to saying, hey, we'd feel kind of bad if we didn't talk about this shit, but I don't know how I'd feel about myself if I'm just like, hey, this Kyle Beach story, I'm not going to talk about it. Hey, we still have moments of fans being racially abused in the stands. We have incidents like this. Like, there's a reason why we bring it up on the show, and it's just because whether you like it or not, this shit happens in hockey. Whether it is an abuse of power by coaches and people in authority of players themselves, whether it is fans being incredibly shitty towards other fans or fans being incredibly shitty towards players. As much as it's a hockey story, it is at the end of the day. Yeah. And obviously, it's one of those things to say, like, hey, shine a spotlight. We talk about the Kyle Beach stuff. We do whatever the hell we can to try and help shine a spotlight on it, however small that spotlight might be, to say, here's our stance on this, and we hope those who listen and watch are like-minded. And if not, maybe here, this conversation will help you think about, like, oh yeah, maybe I should change for the better. If you are somebody who would racially abuse a fellow fan, you need to deeply think about your being, for lack of a better term. Yeah. If you are somebody who would chant that shit at a high school aged girl, whether or not you're also in high school or not, like, for the love of God, And it's like Sin said, like, if we don't mention this shit, I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd to think that, again, especially the high school story, that nobody said anything.
I wonder how
in the moment does nobody say anything? Like, I get the idea of, like, oh, we're sitting here and you don't know what you do in that moment. And I feel like that's a lot of the conversation is people being like, well, in the moment, you don't know what you do. You don't know what you would have done if you heard about the Kyle Beach thing. You don't know what you would have done if you were there and in Edmonton leaving the stadium and saw a guy get racially abused. You don't know what you'd do if you tried to tell a bunch of students to shut the fuck up. That's just the biggest goddamn cop-out, is it not?
No, yeah, and I wonder how many of those kids go home to parents who are going to complain about the magnifying glass being put on their kids now, and going to blame cancel culture and say everyone's too sensitive and boys will be boys. Because again, this doesn't happen by accident. And I know some of you out there might be wanting to turn away from us because we keep having to talk about this kind of stuff. And you're like, well, this is, I promise you, we're not talking about it to cover controversial topics. We're not about clicks. I want this to stop. I don't want to talk about this. I'm with you. You know how we don't talk about it anymore? We fix it. We stop allowing it to happen, and we fix what's wrong with the culture around hockey. And, it comes down to this very toxic and often, this sort of male-dominated behavior of these, like I said, she's a whore, suck our dicks. That comes from, a misogynistic place. This woman doesn't belong in my sport. The racist thing. This person who doesn't look like me doesn't belong here. He doesn't belong in this area. Doesn't whatever. Again, it's just completely wrong, and it's again, like I said, I don't want to talk about it, but we have to, because that's the only way to get the message across that it's not okay. That's the only way to start on the road to fix it. And I am so heartbroken for that girl who she just wants to play a fucking game, dude. All she wants to do is play a game and have fun. And you got to say that shit. You got to, because, and again, you're saying that kind of stuff, that hurtful shit. And honestly, at, to a certain level, kind of, sexually violent towards someone who just wants to play a game and you're not playing. Like, what are you doing? It's a fucking sport. Why?
Yeah.
And
you said
anything to add?
You said it the best. It's just a sport. Like, when you're at the high school level, you're doing it for the love of the game. There's nothing more than that. None of that stuff was necessary. The stuff that happened in Edmonton, like, that's a culture of just Edmonton in general, Alberta, and how it's like the second America, wherever the fuck you want to call it. It's disgusting. And we're going to talk about this stuff until it leaves and we don't have to talk about it. We're going to use our platforms to speak about it and share our sentiments and how we should be getting this out of the game and out of the sport, out of sports in general, not even just hockey. None of these stuff should be a talking point because it shouldn't be anything something we have to worry about. Like, I shouldn't have to worry when I go to a rental game every day if someone's going to call me the N-word, because it's happened and it's not great. That's unfortunate, and I don't want to deal with that, but I have to. And until we change the culture of hockey and of sports in general, we can get rid of these stigmas and all these negative, like, I don't know how to probably say it. Just cut the shit. Cut the shit. That's all I can say. Just cut the shit. I want to go play sport and I want to have fun with my friends. I don't want someone calling me the N-word or some sort of other stuff like that. I'm not going to say on this podcast, whatever the fuck, but just fuck, man. I'm tired of this shit.
Fair enough.
Came from my heart.
There's no
fuck.
There's no great segue out of this. We are going to be able to talk about some of the things that happened between Monday and Wednesday night. Also want to mention, because we don't have any other games to talk about, best wishes to those around the Penguins organization right now. It was announced today that Coach Mike Sullivan is the latest to come down with a positive COVID test. That list right now on COVID protocol includes Brian Dumoulin, Chad Ruedel, Marcus Pettersson, and Sidney Crosby. Again, some asymptomatic. The word was Crosby is not. So hopefully, again, everything's all right there. And again, just goes to show that.
Did you mean not asymptomatic, or he's not symptomatic?
As in, he is not or he is symptom. Crosby is suffering from symptoms at the moment.
Okay.
Other players are asymptomatic.
There we go.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Regardless, it's one of those things.
Just came back from injury.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
so one of those things where, hey, still maybe be a little bit safe, because yeah, we know people. This stuff can still happen.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I get it. We're almost 2 years into this bullshit, but you still got to play it safe sometimes, right? You got to do what you got to do. I went to my first event in person. I didn't really even talk about it. Last Wednesday in Boston, crowd of like 7,000 people. Wore my mask the whole fucking time, even though, of course, you needed, positive. You needed proof of a non-positive test or, full vaccination.
Don't make me start on that. Oh my god.
You still play it safe, damn it. You still play it safe. Boys, let's get out of this.
Hold on. I want to go on one little tangent right here.
Okay, you go on it. We'll stay in it.
Okay. There are several rinks in Toronto. I will say this. If you play hockey and listen to the podcast from Toronto, you'll know what I'm talking about. There is one rink in Toronto, downtown, like a bad area, like Regent Park, everyone understands. I went to go play there, and I missed the podcast for that episode. They did not check my vaccination report and did not do contact screening. So I was freaking out for the past 4 fucking days because I got sick a little bit. Polina's fucking like, you're sick, right? Yeah, you're sick. Yeah, good. She's in the other room. She just got home.
She can answer. I don't believe.
Yeah, she can. It's okay. It's fine. She's probably passed out on the chair. But I have been worried for the past 4 days about possibly having COVID and having all this shit happen. So. Just my little tangent, my little rant. I am irate, maybe because I'm still mad about the whole racism thing and the whole harassing the female the girl playing hockey. I'm just mad. What the fuck? Can't y'all just like follow the rules? Like here in Ontario, they're saying they're gonna get rid of all the mandates by March if we keep up this rate. I don't want to preach or anything, but just be smart. Respect other people's boundaries and just do the things so that way we can all go back to normal. We're almost there. We're at the cusp. We're almost getting it. Just don't be an idiot. I'm going to zoom the camera in real quick. Don't be a fucking idiot. Thank you. Sorry. I'm mad.
Tougie, why did you pick these two to be on the show with you? I think you've seen it in this episode.
Don't be an idiot. I swear to God.
Go on rants of their own. It's great. I love it. Half the time. Normally, I'm the one that's like, okay, let's look at Tougie for the rants. But sometimes I get to just sit back and listen, and it's awesome. That said, boys, let's get into talking about some of the actual hockey that went down. We'll try to go through the segment a little bit quickly here. We'll start off on Monday night. Of course, if you missed the show, Sin and I really kind of set the stage for that. We did talk about the Adam Fox extension as well, so go back and listen to Monday's show if you did not catch that. But on Monday night, Tampa beat Washington. Both, hey, it was a good game. It was 3-2. Tampa's up to 5 wins on the year. Washington has 5 wins already. Brett Leeson scored his first goal for the Caps. Alex Killorn has 7 goals already, which is very frustrating. Because whenever I think of Alex Killorn, he used to be a really good hockey player, and then it's kind of some of the stuff that he didn't said, but he's still a really goddamn good player. Oh, and Tom Wilson tried to break Eric Chernak's forearm and wrist because Tom Wilson's definitely not that type of player. But they were getting into the shoving match before a fight. I don't know if I've ever seen a player have their hockey stick parallel and raise it and drop it as hard as they possibly could into someone's forearm before a fight. Tom Wilson keeps finding new ways to surprise me.
He was trying to do that silly from NHL 21 where you go like this.
Shaking the ropes like the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh my God. It's got the aggression level of Ultimate Warrior too, so hey.
Yeah.
God, yeah. Jesus.
I heard I did see some people say some of the Caps fans like, well, look, Chernak had his stick towards his groin area and maybe he was responding to that. I'm like, okay, he didn't get like full on speared. Maybe he had it there to fuck with him. You still don't two-hand chop forearm onto someone's wrist, which is one of the most unprotected areas of your body when you got all your hockey gear on. That space after the end of the glove before like what the fuck is up with Wilson, man?
I don't know. You ask him.
He's just gonna.
This next one threw me for a loop, by the way. Do. This next.
Oh, what this final talking point in regards to? Yeah, well, I had to throw it on because Tampa Bay Lightning legend Marian Gaborik.
I thought he retired 5 years ago.
No, he officially retired today.
What?
As hilarious as that is.
How old is he?
So it's a good chance to talk about how fucking awesome Marian Gaborik was. I mean, he was the first ever draft pick in Minnesota Wild history, and goddamn, like it sucks to kind of see how his career just, fizzled out really after the end of 2018. Like, he was technically on an NHL roster for the past 3 years, but did not play any games. But Marian Gaborik was a stud of a player. So goddamn good. There could be the debate as Endo's knocking over dishes.
Sorry.
There could be, that potential debate. Like, we always, you always want to jump to like, okay, but are they a Hall of Fame level player? I don't know if Marian Gaborik's a Hall of Fame level player, but he will be one of those guys, I think, that is constantly brought up as, holy shit, do you remember how good Marian Gaborik was at his peak? Because he was unreal in terms of, I feel like, being one of those skaters that helped everybody kind of take a big leap forward. Like, in terms of how good of a skater he was, how fluid of a skater he was, how fast he was, it's like he was that next evolution of player before the rest of the game had really caught up and gotten there. So he's one of my favorite players ever. He is technically a Stanley Cup champion.
Oh, yeah.
Well, technically a champion with the Lightning. He did win, of course, with the LA Kings in 2014. He scored 14 goals in that cup run, by the way. Again, dude, like, so talking
good.
about specifically that 2014 cup for the Kings, he played 22 games with the Blue Jackets, had 14 points. That's not too bad, right? He then goes to the Kings and has 16 points in 19 games, so an even better pace. And then in the playoffs, 22 points in 26 games for the Kings to win that second cup.
What a Chad.
God, I love me some Marian Gaborik. And we all knew this was coming.
Yeah, let's go.
He was on the Rangers for a bit. Yeah, I'm just making sure I didn't confuse it. Yeah. Some of my favorite, I just wanted to make sure this was him. He's, for some reason, one of those guys I can occasionally get confused with like another player. But I could listen to the stories about him and Torts going back and forth in locker rooms and team meetings like constantly, because Torts would always be telling him to block shots, and he'd just be like, "Nah, I don't block shots. I don't know," and like not paying attention during like Torts' worst fucking nightmare is this offensively gifted Marian Gaborik who's like, "I know what I do. I'm sure in myself. You're not going to get me to block shots. I know you want everyone to block shots." I mean, made Ryan Callahan captain for God's sakes, but yeah, it's just those stories always crack me up about like just Marian Gaborik refusing to block shots and just flat out telling Torts he's not going to do this defensive thing that he wants.
It's the best because he played 3.5 seasons with the Rangers, 2009-10 and 2011-12. He scored 40 goals. In both of those seasons.
Wasn't Gaborik?
I wouldn't want him blocking shots either. Fuck, you can get injured.
Yeah.
No, Gaborik was never on Toronto, but he was on Ottawa.
What the fuck? Why do I visually remember him wearing like a Leaf jersey? I don't know why.
Might have been someone
I don't know why either, because he never did.
What the fuck?
But yeah, a farewell to Marian Gaborik, a really, really good NHL career. Also on Monday, the Chicago Blackhawks, and a positive spin for them for once, Jesus Christ. They won their first game of the season. They beat the Ottawa Senators 5-1. Patrick Kane, as much as we've talked about him already in this show, he did score a hat trick in that game.
Yeah,
I mean, again, that's the thing, right? We can question Patrick Kane's decision-making off the ice, perhaps his character and leadership qualities, but there's no denying, and again, I've said it on the show earlier this year, Patrick Kane is the greatest American hockey player in NHL history. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about him on the ice. It's been him off the ice. But yeah, he's still a phenomenal player on the ice. And the only other game that took place on Monday, it was a bit of a quiet day. The Edmonton Oilers beat the Seattle Kraken 5-2. For the Kraken, hey, Jaden Schwartz finally got his first goal. Good to see him show up this season. And Leon Draisaitl scored 2 goals.
Yeah.
And even, it's bad when Duncan Keith and Kyle Turris are scoring.
Yeah.
Shows how that game went for the Seattle Kraken.
This wasn't the game with the Eberle backhand, was it?
No, that was
this the
closer to this prior weekend.
One thing I've enjoyed of Duncan Keith being on the Oilers is everyone making the meme of putting his quote I still feel like I got it left in the tank. We'll see who's a step behind out there. And then they include a video of Duncan Keith just getting fucking burned. Like once with Everly, who like shoved his ass out of the way on his way towards the goal.
I think that was from this game on Monday, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't think he scored on the back end on that. But yeah, I knew one of those things was from that game. And I was just, goddamn, it is so funny. One thing I love about Oilers fans is they are just not afraid to absolutely roast their team at any time.
I think after what they've gone through after making it to the Cup final in 06, they kind of had to learn that we gotta be able to joke about ourselves here in the negative moments, and some of those negative moments are still there, man. For sure.
Sharks go up 2-0 in the series. Oh, they lose the next 4.
Oof.
And
fucking Rafi Torres, fuck you.
God.
Oh man, Rafi Torres.
Imagine Rafi Torres beating your team and being the sole reason for it. Welcome to the mid-2000s, kids.
Oh, God. Well, speaking of the mid-2000s and shitting the bed, Tuesday night, the Toronto Maple Leafs, we can talk about them.
Yay!
And no, on Tuesday, the Leafs beat the Golden Knights 4-0. Jack Campbell had a shutout. Mitch Marner got his second goal of the season, which was fucking unreal.
Oh, yeah.
It was like something out of an EASHL sweat fest. And Austin Matthews scored his second and third goal, so he's heating up. And William Nylander scored as well. So, hey, your big players showed up. Jack Campbell got a shutout. All as well. Stanley Cup for the Leafs. Here we go.
I just want them to get past the first round. I don't give a flying fuck, realistically, if they do anything else. They could shit the bed. But if they don't get past that first round, I will say that this is now I'm on a podcast, so this has like legitimate like standing. If they do not get out of the first round, I will no longer be a Leafs fan. I
don't believe you.
You don't believe me?
I've said
You're
that.
still there.
I have said that at times with the Sharks.
No. I am sick and tired of this. This is a dirty mistress in my life, okay? It has been fucking me over for the past I've been alive for 23 years. I've been a Leaf fan for probably that same amount of time. I can't do it anymore. The pressure is too much on me. Like, I'm not even playing the goddamn sport, but I'm like, oh my God, they gotta do it. You know what? I want to have some closure. Either they get out of the first round or I'm gone. I don't give a fuck. That whole team's going to be gone if they go out the first round. The whole team's gone anyway. I'll be gone too. Fuck. Who cares?
You're 23. I'm
23.
Now 31. I'm thinking 8 years ago, where was I? And it was very, very close. It wasn't quite 2014. But yeah, it was around that same sort of time, Sharks winning presidents and shit. And you know how many times I was like, I can't be a Sharks fan anymore. This is bullshit. Dude, 2014 was the worst. I think that was the reverse sweep, or was it 2012? I don't know. The pain blends together. But yes, I'm like, oh my God, the Sharks have a 3-0 lead over the Kings. They're fucking killing it. Lose 1, lose 2, lose 3. Here's game 7. I can't be a shit fan anymore if they do this. Next year, I'm right back in it. I'm sniffing that fucking hype, and I'm breathing in pure copium. And I'm believing. I don't believe you. As a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, especially as a Canadian, I don't believe you.
Here's the difference, though. Your team's gone out of the first round. My team hasn't gone out of the first round almost. We said it's almost 2 decades. Almost. Okay?
True, but we were having first and second round wins constantly while winning President's trophies with Joe Thornton in his prime, man.
Yeah, and I can't take the copium anymore, okay? I'm not a copium. I'm getting off my addiction of copium. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. You know what I got for my birthday one year? Remember the game when the Leafs blew it in OT? Oh, besides every game, game 7 with 2014.
Okay. Oh,
the playoffs, game 7. Yeah, the one with Reimer in it, and he just flopped like a fucking fish. I got that for my birthday. That's in my memory. It's in my mind. That's the worst fucking birthday present. You know what I did? I bought a fucking sweater. From that team. I'm done. I'm not gonna burn my sweater like I'm fucking 2BC. I'm gonna donate that sweater to the charity to someone who deserves it. Fuck, but I'm done. I swear, they don't get out. Yeah, baby. Fucking done, baby.
I had to bring it out.
All right, been the best
on a positive note,
I haven't had to do anything. This is great.
On a positive note, I got plenty of fantasy points. Thank you, Matthews and Nylander. Finally, you assholes. God, I'm 1 and 2 because you, mostly Matthews being injured and then slow start. But thank you, Nylander. What a gem.
Oh, God. The Montreal Canadiens, dude, there were a shitload of shutouts on Tuesday. I don't know what was up with that. But the Habs
shutout. What the hell?
The Habs shut out the Red Wings 3-0. Jake Allen gets a shutout. Nick Suzuki finally got his first goal. For as much as we hyped him up, he hadn't had a goal yet this year. Anderson has 3, Gallagher has 2, so we know the Habs offense has been struggling. Not all doom and gloom for the Red Wings, though. Like, Moritz Seider was declared October Rookie of the Month, which we talked about that on the last show as well. Like, it's he and Lucas Raymond right now in a 2-horse race. Everyone else has to catch up. But, yeah, Jake Allen with the shutout. Who needs Carey Price when you have Jake Allen?
We did this last year when he got sent into Laval. Oh my God.
Oh, I love it. We'll just move on. Philadelphia Flyers beat the Arizona Coyotes 3-0. Couturier has 4 goals on the year. Giroux has 5, so they're doing well. Carter Hart gets the shutout. In 6 games this year, Carter Hart has a .233 goals against average and a .928 save percentage.
Flex time real quick. I picked up Carter Hart with my last fantasy draft pick. He was my sleeper pick, and goodness gracious, has even nice. Anyway, continue.
While that is impressive, never mind. I was going to be like, who did he play against? Have those numbers. Then I looked at who he played against: Seattle, Florida, Edmonton, Calgary, Arizona. Yeah, I'm going to shut up now. That's actually pretty goddamn good.
That's not a bad run of teams,
would you
right?
play like Arizona 4 other times? It's like, no, he played
I'll take the free shutout against Arizona. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, people were saying it was maybe the Flyers' defense. It was more the issue. I think in general, like, Carter Hart needed to be better this year. And hey,
yeah, he
so
did.
far,
he
so
did
good.
But I mean, also Martin Jones is looking good, which is maybe also a little bit of the Flyers' defense improving.
There you go. And other goalie news, too. The Arizona Coyotes picked up Scott Wedgwood on waivers from the Devils because Vejmelka's too good. We need Hutton and Wedgwood to really help tank for Shane Wright. That's the only way I can view that. Like, that's it. Like, you don't pick up Scott Wedgwood. I mean, unless you're tanking. They kind of needed another goalie, but
yeah.
Oh, God, I love it. The Coyotes are tanking to perfection right now. It's great.
I do kind of worry about the effect it might have on some of their players, like a Clayton Keller or Jacob Chikrin. And if they'll even be able to keep those dudes around. Well, I mean, obviously Keller's signed. I guess Chikrin is too, but I mean, still, at the same time, like, goddamn, that's got to suck. 10 games in, you haven't won. That's got to wear on you mentally. Like, and
1 point in that time as well.
Like, how do you bounce back from that? Even in the next year, even if you start getting better players, like, that's just going to be so hard to recover from that sort of long term of tanking. Anyway, but that's just me speculating and musing.
I'm just interpolating this. Oh, God. Minnesota beat Ottawa 5-4 in overtime. Interesting game for this reason. Shout out to Marcus Foligno, who has 4 goals on the year now. Kirill Kaprizov scored his first goal of the season in this game. Took him 9 games to get his first goal. I feel like that has been an underrated storyline probably everywhere outside of Minnesota to begin this season. Like, very, very surprised.
How many assists does he have?
That's a good question.
Is he producing points? Because he just signed that big-ass deal.
Let's take a look at old Kirill Kaprizov. I already had Hockey DB up. He does have 7 assists, so he has 8 points in 9 games.
Yeah, that's okay.
Not really a bad thing there.
Yeah,
but the 1 goal. Yeah, he had 27 last year. I'll be intrigued to see if he hits that again. 27 goals in 55 games last year, which is
he always
nuts.
Looks kind of like he had more of a playmaker side to him. Not that he doesn't have a great shot and can't put the puck in the net, but when I would watch those videos of him just skating around like at will, his sidestepping when he's going around the horn and like, goddamn, like the way he skates, the way he moves and his vision, like he still seems like to me more of a playmaker. So I don't mind it as much, but yeah, I mean, if they're counting on him to be a goal scorer, he does need to get going. But honestly, if I had Kaprizov, I'm like, yo, do your thing. Like, do whatever the fuck you're gonna do, man. We'll build around you.
And to shout out certain members of the Sens there, Nick Paul has 3 goals this year, but more importantly, Drake Batherson has 5. Chris Tierney has 5.
Elite.
Josh Norris has 6.
No, he doesn't. That's fake news.
Fake news. The Josh Norris is just scoring goals, and it's so,
honestly, I didn't think he would do this good. I'm gonna be real. I liked him. God. I really liked him. Like, yeah, this is a possible like a Couture like player who's who's going to be solid, and he's defensively responsible too. He had a great, what do they call that shit? The rookie, where they all get together and lift weights and shit.
Combine.
Thank you.
I almost said Columbine. Oh my god.
I was gonna say complex. I was like, no, that's not it. But yeah, good for Norris. Good for the Sens. Honestly, they needed those.
And if you're wondering why the show was called "Rookies Lifting Weights," you've reached that portion of the show.
Young weight.
But yeah, Chris Tierney.
YUNG weight.
Chris Tierney got the piano off his back. Hype to the Cobra. Let's go.
Oh my god, this has been one of my favorite shows we've ever done. This is great. I want to shout this out too again because I was just going. I like going by the game stats. Like, oh, what's interesting about this? Winnipeg beat Dallas 4-3 in a shootout on Tuesday. Shout out to Pierre-Luc Dubois, who has 7 goals this year as well. Mm-hmm. Like, all the hype around PLD disappeared. Like, he murdered the Leafs. He gets traded to Winnipeg, and now nobody gives a shit, but he has 7 goals.
Did you have to bring up
for the Jets?
Did you really have to bring up the Leaf thing?
Yes. In case you haven't noticed, my role on this show has just been to stir you two up, and it's worked out perfectly.
Well, here's another instance where I get to praise my fantasy roster for having Pierre-Luc Dubois.
There you go. But if you have the likes of Jamie Benn and Jason Robertson, you might be disappointed because those two also just scored their first goals of the year. Very surprising. Like, Jamie Benn obviously is paid to do more than that, and Jason Robertson realistically could have won the Calder last year. So to see him get just 1 goal on the season so far in what was Dallas's, I do believe, 9th game of the season.
Rough.
That's... again, a bit of a slow start there, and can explain Dallas being at 3-4-2 to start the year.
How quickly they fell from, getting to that Cup final. I mean, they missed last year, didn't they? Yeah, or did they lose in the play-in?
God, I don't even.
I can't remember either. It's like
Dallas
a fever
fans.
dream the last 2 years.
Let's take a look at Dallas Stars seasons.
Either way,
just to check this out. Well, now I need to know because I genuinely don't remember.
Free Pavelski.
I feel bad. The Dallas Stars did not make the playoffs last year. They finished 5th in the Central. If I remember right, they were the team, like, above all else, got absolutely boned by COVID protocol.
Yeah.
Like, I seem to remember that now. Okay. That, like, oh yeah, they had awful luck.
Texas.
Just awful.
Texas
makes sense.
Shout out to our boy OG Kevin Bacon, the pride of Texas. Just fucking beautiful, man.
The White Rose of Texas, OG Kevin Bacon on Twitch.
Just the white of Texas.
There's plenty of that to go around. Come on.
Oh God! Speaking of white, Nashville
and Calgary. Let's go. We're crushing it.
Nashville beat Calgary 3-2 in overtime. Not much to talk about there. Shout out to Matt Duchene, who had 3 goals on the year at the end of this. Matthew Tkachuk scored his 4th. And then was a part of absurd trade rumors. So, hey, yeah, interesting.
What a weekend.
Interesting one. The next game is more interesting, though. No disrespect. Vancouver beat the New York Rangers 3-2 in overtime. JT Miller getting his 2nd and 3rd goals of the year. That 3rd was an OT winner. Shout out to Vasily Podkolzin, who has 2 goals now. Zibanejad and Panarin both get their 2nd goals of the year. Need to see them pick up that pace just a little bit. Brand new contract for Zibanejad. He has 2 goals on the year so far. But this game was highlighted by the fact that Thatcher Demko played a good 10 to 15 second stretch without a blocker and was making saves, including this ridiculous kick save that ended up on like SportsCenter's #1 plays of the day.
Yeah,
this was absurd. And the thing that it made me think of is like they eventually blew the play dead, if I'm not mistaken, realizing that, oh, he's without his blocker. But what's weird to me is I don't understand the rules of goalies losing equipment and when it results in a stop and when it doesn't.
Okay, so
hold on, because Demko lost his blocker and eventually they blew the whistle. But I remember it was like the 2018 playoffs, 2019 maybe, that Tuukka Rask against Tampa in the playoffs lost his skate blade. And you love that moment because of him shaking the skate blade at someone like fucking God, Ramsay Bolton and the fucking sausage in fucking Game of Thrones. Hey, that's a Game of Thrones reference in 2021. First time that's ever happened. I just don't understand. Like, goalie loses his skate blade. No, the play can continue, but he loses his blocker. Like, I get there's a difference in terms of protection, but the idea of just like if a goalie can't do what he's supposed to do because of an equipment thing, like, would you not think a goalie has more control over losing his blocker because a goalie could just get a penalty shot and go fucking fling that blocker? But if you lose a skate blade, you can't. I don't get it.
So the general
it was great
rule,
though from Demko.
General rule is possession. So, and your team gets possession.
Possession is 9/10 of the law.
Yeah.
Got it.
Basically, it's basically what it is. Because you notice the play didn't go dead. Like, he was waving his hand at the ref, and the ref saying like they don't have possession, like they don't have possession of the puck, so you can't do anything about it. So he's flopping around like a goddamn fish out there. I've had skates where I've lost like I'm going to get ready and I have my sticks on the top of the net, but that's a stick. And like sometimes I'll make a scene, like my blocker pops off and I'm like, shit. And like I have to still keep playing it. Even in fucking beer league. I mean, they're assholes. The refs are assholes and just want to go home. So not going to call anything. But this way, these guys are getting paid millions of dollars. And that's how it be. That's how it is, unfortunately.
I feel like there's so much gray area more than anything else surrounding goaltenders, goaltender interference, goaltender equipment stuff. I've seen ones, where we had that a couple of years ago where we saw a goaltender make a save without a mask on, which I think was more of an oversight of them not blowing the whistle in time because it happened pretty quick. Was that Vasilevsky?
I think it was.
I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Either way, I was kind of shocked to see this. In my opinion, game flow needs to stop outweighing safety, and missing your blocker like that is dangerous as fuck.
He didn't, I would have thought, he doesn't have a blocker. He'll put, an arm behind his back to protect his hand. No, he's just holding his hand out there.
It's like muscle reflex. Exactly. It's like muscle reflex. How do you stop doing that? And, it's just, I don't know. And, I get the whole argument, you don't want goalies doing this on purpose. When's the last time I've seen a goalie try to, get a stoppage by throwing I've seen people, something comes loose, they shake their helmet off because they don't want to play with a loose helmet. That I can understand, but in my opinion, goalies aren't trying to fuck themselves out of their equipment to not make saves and not make plays. I don't know. Maybe it's okay, and maybe it's happened so few and far between that the rules are fine, but that just was weird to me watching a guy without with those sharp ass blades, him being on the ice, his hands on the ice, and I'm just cringing at what if that puck hits it? What if a fucking skate goes over it? Well,
didn't Francouz make a no glove hand save last season or whatever?
Somebody did recently, yeah.
I know Justin Peters. Oh, remember that name? Made a save with no mask. Braden Holtby made a save, and it was Francouz. It was Francouz who made a save back when he was with. I think he got called up to the end to the team and made a glove save. Yeah, hold on. I'll look it up right now.
That's crazy.
I will say as well, just in regards to this topic of conversation again, Thatcher Demko's season, he has been so stupidly good.
Yeah.
And I kind of hope he can keep this up. I don't know why. Probably because he went to BC, but I'm rooting for Thatcher Demko. And yeah, man. Endo, did you end up finding that particular clip that you got, or can I talk about how Justin Hall has apparently been scratched for the third straight game, making almost $2 million?
Go for it. Go for that while I still find it up.
Wait, as in Toronto?
God.
Yes.
Yeah, I just caught that news on Twitter that, granted, we're recording a little bit late here, so some of these games for tonight are just about ready to start. But yeah, Justin Hall, who is making $2 million this year and next, is apparently a healthy scratch for the third straight game for the Maple Leafs there. So just to try to twist the knife on Endo. He'll keep looking for that sin. I'm going to move on because who knows if he'll even find it. But, okay.
Oh,
who was it?
How
did it happen?
What the hell? It was Garrett Sparks for the Maple Leafs. Remember that?
There you go.
He was with the Marlies. What the heck?
Leafs fans are already going to be kicking you out because you didn't remember that.
Shut the fuck up. You're all a bunch of boomers anyway. Shut up.
Oh, God. Just to finish up Tuesday, because Sin will get his moment to shine here as well. The Ducks beat the Devils 4-0. Gibson with a shutout because, again, Tuesday had a ton of shutouts. Ryan Getzlaf scored his first. Shout out to Troy Terry. People calling for him to be on a national team coming up for the Olympics. He scored his 6th and 7th goals of the season there. Maybe not all doom and gloom for the Devils, though. They called up Alex Holtz today. So another shiny new toy to be distracted by. But Sin, I mean, you get to see him more frequently, I'm sure. Troy Terry is sick.
He's good.
He's so good.
He's so underrated, and he's not a name, so he's not gonna get on a national team. I feel like that's half of how it works sometimes. Because I'm looking at some guys who get like overlooked for these national teams, and to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Either way, yeah, he's. Again, this is just a year where the Ducks are starting to kind of fall into place, and you can start to sort of see their future coming into place. I mean, Troy Terry a couple years ago, solid depth piece. Yeah, maybe he slots in every now and then. I never thought of him as anything more than that, but it's great to see him, starting to come alive here, and obviously you're gonna have to watch out for him. And yeah, screw the Ducks. I don't like them. But seriously,
and that'll bring us to the Sharks then, as they beat the Sabres 5-3, highlighted by Jonathan Dahlen's 4th goal of the year.
Thank you, Vancouver.
Mr. Ryan Merkley and Mario Ferraro scored their first goals of the season. Tomas Hertl scored his 4th and 5th. Sin, take it away.
Ryan Merkley is surprising the crap out of me. I will say that first and foremost. I was like, that man is not going to touch the ice this year. I would watch him in preseason, watch him in the rookie stuff. I'm like, he's not ready. He comes in and he is. I mean, getting that first goal was huge. It was obviously his first NHL career goal in his second NHL career game, which is pretty awesome for a defenseman. Bit of a lucky one, throws a shot from the point, hits a couple things on its way to the net. That's hockey, goes in. After he scored that, the amount of confidence he was playing reminded me of Dan Boyle in his prime. Some of the shit that he was pulling off and successfully pulling off was good. He had so much confidence. He looked to skate into the zone, did a circle around, and threw a shot on net as he crept in. He was joining the rush. He looked like I said, a combination of Dan Boyle and some of, his tendency to join the rush, and where you'd all of a sudden, oh, there's Merkley, is kind of Carlson-esque, just the amount of skating he has when he wants to turn on the Jets. It was very good to watch. Ferraro getting a howitzer from, able to show off his 100-mile-per-hour shot, as we found out from the Sharks skill competition. Funniest quote, I don't think we have it in here. No, there's a Couture quote. A lot of funny Couture quotes after that game, but he said, he's like, we're always trying to tell Mario to shoot it more, but he's always got Brent Burns yelling at him for the puck, which I think is a fantastic quote. Also, great to see that clearly the Sharks are having fun with one another again. Did you guys see either of Hertl's goals, by the way?
I did not.
You need to look up those highlights.
Look at him now.
Yes. His second one especially. Wow.
Kind of sign that man.
Yeah.
Pay that man.
Yeah, Mario Ferraro played 30 goddamn minutes, and I did not stop talking about that for an entire night, as Tougie and his Twitch chat are aware. Came in there, that was like the first thing I said, I'm pretty sure. This next one, though, I feel like we all got to kind of touch in on that because it's a pretty big talking point. It's the status of Eklund, who is, I think, tonight playing in his 8th game since he did skip one. The Sharks have played 9, or maybe this is his 9th. Yeah, he skipped one. The Sharks have played 8. He skipped one. So this will be his 8th game tonight. So he has technically, does it work with the amount of games the rookie plays or the amount of games that the team plays?
I think it's based off of the games they play, and if I'm not mistaken, isn't the limit 9?
That's what I thought. Yeah,
game?
Yeah. So
they're coming up very, very quickly on the decision of does he stay or do you send him back over to Sweden to not burn a year of his ELC?
I wanted to get your guys' takes on this first, and then I can kind of give mine if you guys have takes.
So it's. I mean, I haven't been able to watch any Sharks games aside from the one that they played against the Bruins. I mean...
Oh, yeah, he didn't play in that one.
There you go. So I really haven't seen him outside of highlight form, which is very, very tough, obviously, to then judge a player. I just don't know, okay, how much does he contribute right now to the success of this team? If you lose him off of this roster, are they suddenly no longer a 6-3 hockey team? Are they a 3-6 hockey team?
Yeah.
He has 4 points in 8 games, though. I mean, do they have somebody to step into that lineup to directly replace him, or is there someone in the bottom 6 that would then get a better chance to step up if you push someone up from the bottom six. I don't know if they do. I mean, they do have the massive, COVID issue right now still as well. Like I know Meyer, LeBanc, Nieto still on protocol. So it's like you're looking at John Leonard or Noah Gregor, Joachim Blichfeld. Like there are guys you can give a chance to. I guess it really just depends on how confident they would be to really make a run, and more so the cap situation down the road. I don't really have a take. I don't really have a take. I can look at the aspects of the situation, but I can see the positives to both. Sending him down or keeping him.
Endo.
Yeah, I see the same way. It depending on like who they have through COVID protocol and everything, they might be forced to keep him, and they might just keep him up as well, burn the year of the contract, whatever. Because it seems like he's gelling pretty well. I mean, 4-8 as a rookie, as an 18-year-old, it's pretty good. I'm not gonna say it's bad. It's pretty good. If they do keep him, that'll be great for his thing. But I don't want to rush the development of the player, if you know what I mean. Like I don't want to just bring him up and just have him there.
Yeah, so I have this funny feeling that they're going to keep him around. Not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but in my opinion, when I went into this season, I said the only way I'm keeping this dude around is if he's on every single night for those 9 games, and is like at point per game, which may seem like a very high bar, but in my opinion, if you're going to play this guy, burn a year of his entry level, that's the level that he needs to play at. That all being said, he does a lot of other stuff that don't find the score sheet. Not to mention he's had about 5 beautiful passes that were simply not finished on either by Balsers or one time hurdle on a breakaway. And he could have more points. He could have more assists. He's gotten close to a goal, hasn't buried it. But I just don't know if that's... I don't know. Like, in my opinion, I don't think the Sharks are realistic contenders. I don't think Eklund puts him over that hump. I'm worried about frustrating him by sending him back to Sweden, but I'm worried about rushing him along, a la I'm forgetting the name now. Mr. Defenseman went to New Jersey afterwards. See, I fucking forgot his name. That's how much of a bust he was. It starts with an M too, and I just cannot remember.
Mirko Mueller.
Thank you, Mirko Mueller.
The worst part is I had to zone out for a second to text the girlfriend. I jumped back in mid-conversation, and I still knew we were talking about. NHL roster editing has ruined my brain.
There you go. But I mean, that's why I don't want to rush him along. That being said, in an interview with him, Eklund's like, yeah, I feel like I'm ready. I feel like, this is where I belong. So it puts the Sharks in a very precarious situation where you're either you're gonna burn a year of that entry level if you keep him around. He's at 0.5 point per game, no goals. In my opinion, not worth it to keep someone that young around. That being said, what Tougie said, who replaces him? No one. Maybe the Sharks are better off in that light. Are we going to sign Hurdle? I feel like with this start, the way the Sharks are playing, there needs to be conversations. If conversations aren't happening, he's going to get traded. You better do it sooner rather than later. I don't want to, Sharks are it's such an awkward transition year where I really don't know what's going to happen. I think what I feel like should happen, and I'm leaning towards the side of sending Eklund back to Sweden, develop him, don't rush him along. We need that ELC slide in our contract situation, especially if we somehow sign Hurdle. But if you send him down, the Sharks suck. Do you get Hurdle? So it's crazy. This could go either way. But yeah, also Jeff Skinner scored his second and third, and we made Jeff Skinner look good, and I'm a little bit disappointed about that. But good job with your 9 million, Skinner. You elf.
I just want to jump right in. So I found out who the goalie was, the recent one, Hunter Miska of the Colorado Eagles, formerly ECHL, but now the AHL farm team of the Colorado Avalanche, made the glove save, and I think after the play he was injured. He full on palmed it in his hand. Like,
if he wasn't injured, man's a superhero, and what's he doing in the AHL?
So, just to wrap up the conversation then about William Eklund, I mean, if they push back, if they get the ELC slide, he wouldn't be in need of a new deal until they're heading into the 2025-2026 season. that is coincidentally the time that the Brent Burns deal is finally up.
Yep.
Now, is Brent Burns going to play until he's 40 years old? Who knows? But at that point, the only people who would be under contract would be Logan Couture, still making $8 million, William Karlsson at the 11.7, and then that would be Vlasic entering the final year of his deal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is a benefit, but also at the same time, a lot of the problematic contracts that they're worried about would still be there. Every single one would still be there except for the Burnsy deal. And is he even going to play 3 more years after this one anyway? I don't know. I'm actually kind of leaning now after looking at that towards keeping William Eklund around.
Okay.
Because just how much is that cap situation? It's barely going to clear itself up anyway.
I think at that point, you're just hoping that extra year brings in a higher salary cap. That's kind of my thought on it, is like that extra $1 million could go towards the Eklund deal, or however much it'll go up by then. We just don't know. It all depends on how the ESPN and TNT thing goes. But for the most part, I think it's going very, very well in that regard. Man, shit, I forgot. I had another point that I was going to make about that Sharks game. It was about their horrible fucking attendance. But I forgot how it tied into it now, so I'll just shut up. Anyway, it was terrible attendance. Buffalo probably felt like a home game. That's all I'll say on that. It was awful. And
to wrap up the show, we'll quickly talk about Wednesday as well. The Oilers beat the Preds 5-2. Edmonton now 8-1 on the season. Leon Draisaitl scored his 8th and 9th goals of the year. He has 20 points in 9 games. This comes from Jason Gregor on Twitter. Apparently, the last 2 players to have 20 points in 9 games were Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr, both in 1996.
Jesus.
Again, he is on the same team as Connor McDavid. If you don't win, Edmonton, for the love of God. I'm not telling Oilers fans anything they don't already know. Matt Duchene and Ryan Johansson each scored their 4th goals, and the Preds announced that, as expected, Pekka Rinne will be the first player in team history to have his jersey retired. And yeah, I mean, when you think of the Nashville Predators, I mean, you might think of like Greg Johnson as an early captain, or David Legwand, or Shea Weber. Pekka Rinne is likely the first name that you think of when you think of the Nashville Predators. Like, he is that organization at this stage.
Yeah, 100%. I would say like, oh, they haven't retired it sooner, but he just retired. So
yeah, he literally just retired. Like, they are going. I don't know what date they announced, but they're almost going full Lundqvist and just like, we're retiring this shit as soon as we possibly can, and it's the right thing to do.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
and Nashville,
the Carolina Hurricanes. Oh shit, let's go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's just this will tie into the Carolina Hurricanes too, and their little beef. Now, Nashville never misses an opportunity to raise a banner. So,
another thing too. February 24th, 2022 is the date they're gonna retire the number.
On my birthday, I'm going to Nashville. I'm not, but that's okay.
Happy birthday.
I might be. I'm going to be in Arizona or Seattle. I don't know yet.
I'll be there too,
but I'm going to be in one of the two. The Carolina Hurricanes moved to 9-0 on the season as they beat the Blackhawks 4-3. Seth Jarvis got his first ever goal. Alex DeBrincat, though, I mean, we talked about Patrick Kane. He scored his 5th of the year in this game, but DeBrincat scored his 5th and 6th. But obviously the story is the Hurricanes. They are 9-0 for the first time in team history, and the tweet I saw is that they are 1 win away from tying the NHL record for most wins in a row to start the season, along with the 93-94 Toronto Maple Leafs and the 06-07 Buffalo Sabres. So, yeah, nobody expected Carolina to be this good. I mean, so I thought they might take a little bit of a step back. I had some concerns, but goddamn, they've been incredible to start this season.
They're so filled.
Talk about a team though that has pressure to do well in the playoffs, right? Like Carolina, you know, they made it to the conference final, but it's like you gotta take that next step forward and not waste this window here. They are in a window at this stage. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
The Columbus Blue Jackets beat the Avs 5-4 in OT. Notable, Jake Bean and Cole Sillinger each scored their 2nd and 3rd goals of the year. Bean's OT winner, his 3rd of the year. So, I mean, hey, Carolina got rid of Jake Bean. Columbus looks to be loving him. Boone Jenner goals update, because what the hell? 6 goals on the year for Boone Jenner. in that game as well. Bowen Byram scored his second and third, so a lot of young guys getting goals. JT Compher has 5. Shout out to JT Compher for scoring 5 goals. And then the final game that happened, the Kings beat the Blues 3-2 in a shootout. Only the Blues' second loss of the year. So it's interesting that, like, literally every single game you can look into it and just be like, oh yeah, shit, no, this guy has, why the hell does this guy have 7 goals already? This doesn't make sense.
It's either someone jumping on the scene or like a comeback story. It's so cool. Like, this is such a cool year, and I'm loving all the narratives that are starting to pop up from it. And yeah, I mean, Boone Jenner was 6. Like, straight up, I feel like we're 4-5 years ago when, you know, he was oh man, that's just insane.
So with that, everybody, we will let you go. This is one of our longest shows in a while, but I had a feeling it was going to turn into that. And imagine if we had viewer questions, it'd be over 2 hours. But hey, it is what it is. We do thank you very much for listening, especially if you made it to this portion of the show. We will be back next Monday talking everything that happens this weekend. And boys, I mean, Jesus, I don't know if we'll ever get to viewer questions again if we keep having so much to talk about on these shows, but it was a good one. Endo, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me Twitch. I always mess up the spot. You want to buy my merch? I got merch. I got really outdated merch. The best merch, the greatest merch. endomills.ca. Twitter, Endo Mills, everything Endo Mills. Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. I keep saying Facebook. I don't even use Facebook. YouTube. Yeah, whatever. Just search up Endo Mills and you'll find me. You need to find me. That's me.
Sin.
I'm just going to point out that Endo Mills plugs are the worst thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, they're the worst.
You need to advertise. Like,
I'm here. You'll find me.
Self-advertising.
I'm not going to be like, watch my content. Like, no. Just
I will.
Hey, bitches, check out my YouTube, Sin for the Win Productions. You want to see me live stream to about 10 people? Max, look at me up on Twitch. Check out my Twitter, linked below on the screen. If you can't see it on screen, Sin FTW Parade. Watch me argue with people on Twitter and get blocked. No, just kidding. Sometimes I have good takes. Sometimes I spread memes. Sometimes I make jokes. And hey, if we want to get to viewer questions, hockey, stop fucking up, okay? Let's stop with the bullshit.
Yeah, fix hockey culture, then we can do some questions.
Oh, God. Well, we'll end this show as Patrice Bergeron just scored for the Bruins. They're up 1-0 on Detroit. You can find me everywhere at Tougie24. Thank you again for listening to the show. Manscaped, we love you. Thanks for sticking with us. Code Tougie, 20% off. Free worldwide shipping. You know the deal. We will see you all next week. Have a lovely weekend.
It's November.
And
yeah.
Personal challenge to everybody out there. See how long you can sit and wait. Can you take the Architect Challenge and wait longer than Architect in a soft lock game of NHL 22? Let me know your personal best timing. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.